Hi, everyone. I'm Carl Bierock. Welcome to the Jaguar Football Podcast. And with us today is a very special guest. We have Theron Wilson, and he's going to talk about his journey all the way from the high school level all the way to the pros. So, Theron, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, you started your high school career in Michigan. Tell us a little bit
Right.
about that.
Yeah. So I went to Ann Arbor Skyline, southeastern Michigan. Started playing football my freshman year in high school. So I didn't grow up playing football. And the only reason I started was because one of my friends messaged me on Facebook, which was big back in 2008, right? And he told me, "Oh man, you should come out and try out and try and play football." And I asked my mom, like, "Can I go do it?" And she said, "Sure, go ahead." As soon as I did it, I fell in love with it, and that's where it took off from. Um, I wasn't the best player my freshman year in high school, you know, um, kind of a backup, maybe second, third string type wide receiver. Um, but I still love the game. And I gradually progressed throughout, those 4 years in high school. Um, it was pretty prevalent my sophomore year. Like, okay, this guy's a real player. Junior year, senior year, starting to get recognition. So that's how it came up. But um, yeah, if you have like more specific questions about the high school thing, I can
Yeah, so it sounded
answer.
like you were finding your way as a freshman, and even with our program here, our coach, Coach Bear, talks about, it's all about just learning how to be a football player, learning
Hmm.
how, for us, the Seckman Jaguars handle their business, and then when they move up to the higher levels, they feel like they're in a really good spot to contribute or make an impact. We know that not everybody is going to start, but if
Right,
your name's called, you got to step up and make a play. So along
right.
those lines, it sounds like you really worked on your craft, and you played
Yeah,
what, defensive back as a high schooler.
yeah,
Tell us
yeah,
about that.
yeah. Um, so when I first started playing, my coach, his name was John Test. He was probably around like 60, 70 years old. And he saw my potential. Um, and I had a teammate that was a very good wide receiver. Um, and in high school, if you have a good player, they're probably going to pass him the ball first. So he came to me and said, "You can really be successful playing defensive back." And I was like, okay, I really didn't want to do it, right? But, um, you know, I really enjoyed that sort of like constructive criticism or encouragement from my coaches. And the second thing for me was the summer. The spring and the summer when you're not actually in the football season. If you really want to, you know, rise in the ranks and become a starter eventually, that's where the real work happens. So I would go, to the field during the summer, um, run, work on my craft, work on my routes, work on my back pedal, all those types of things. Um, that's 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 really where you can make a difference for yourself.
Sure, and it sounds like you did really well at the high school level. Then comes college. I was just wondering if you could talk to us about that, what it's like to be on the recruiting trail, and what maybe parents and or the players need to be
Yeah.
asking the questions or be on the
Oh,
lookout for.
oh my gosh. Yeah. So number one for the parents, I would say, try and take advantage of as much as you can in terms of getting your children involved in camps over the summer, even if it's just like a team camp or something like that. Like you might not get invited to the rivals camp, or I think it's called 24/7 sports now. Even if you're not invited to those, you still can bring your kids to the universities that have their own camps. Um, there's kids that will be invited to those, but you can still go there yourself because it's a money play for those schools. So you can still go there, and especially if you know that you're like a gifted person, but maybe no one knows about you. Um, you can put yourself in that situation and be able to show that you're just like those other kids that have the exposure. So
Yeah, and you went on to play what Division 2, Division 3
yeah,
football.
yeah. So another thing that I would add is I don't know. I was kind of hard headed in high school. Um, both of my parents went to EMU, Eastern Michigan University. Um, my dad played basketball there. My mom just went there as a student, and actually offered me my junior year. But I told them I don't want to go to the same school that that you guys went to. I want to go somewhere else. I want to go to a bigger school. And I was also being recruited by like Big Ten schools, but never was eventually offered. But looking back at it, I would be more appreciative um, of a school that does offer you a scholarship. You know, but yeah, that's what I did. And basketball was actually my main sport. So it
Yeah,
was it was pretty weird trying to like do that dynamic. But once I got an offer from Northwood University, is where I went to college and played. Um, it got to a point where I was like, like I can't miss this opportunity. I want to take it, and I'm gonna make the best out of it. I don't care if it's D2 or I don't care if it's D3. I love playing football. So
yeah. Well,
that's the
tell us
main
about
thing.
like that transition from high school. Out here in Missouri, it's division or class 1 through 6, 6 being the
Hmm.
highest, and so we're a class 6 team. And I
Yeah,
imagine that transition from high school, from playing Friday nights to Saturday, is pretty
yeah.
big. I mean, it's maybe a whole new culture and just the
It
way of
is.
going
It
about and
is.
handling your business.
Yeah, it is. I can't lie. I mean, if you get there, if you get to the college level, it's going to be a culture shock when you get there. Um, everyone that's at that level probably was the best or one of the best players on their team in high school, right? Um, and also, you're playing with people that are 3, 4, even in these days, maybe even 5 or 6 years older than you. And they've been through that rigorous process. And when you get there, it's not only football; it's also class. In school, um, and you're not just a normal kid when you get there. You might have practice at not practice, but you might have conditioning or weightlifting at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. You go back to your dorm, you have to take a shower, um, go to the calf, eat your breakfast, make sure that you get that stuff in, and then have class all day, and then 3 p.m. you're back at practice, in football practice. So it's totally different than when you're playing football in high school. It's more so a job at that point when you get there. Um, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Like it really builds you up, and if you have the opportunity to do it, I would do it again. So
Yeah, from what you're describing, it does sound like a full time job trying to manage being a student and then you are a student athlete and fulfilling all those responsibilities. I imagine it took a lot of time. And so while
oh
you
yeah,
were in college, it seems like you flipped positions and went to the other side of the ball. How did that
yeah,
transition go for you?
yeah. I mean, uh, so I played both in high school. I was a DB and a wide receiver. Um, I got good enough my junior and senior year of high school at wide receiver that I just made it. It was my choice. Like that's what I wanted to play. Um, so it wasn't really a transition for me, but I would say I probably would have been better served playing defensive back, just because of my build, like 6'3", like a 6'3" person that can move and like be a reactionary type person. Like I probably would have been better as being a defensive back. So I would say defense would be the way to go. But yeah, it wasn't a big transition for me. I hate like trying to toot my horn and stuff, but like I don't know, football is more so like it's like an athletic type of thing. You don't really need skill. Like there's technique that you have to use, but it's more so athletic ability. So it wasn't a huge transition for me. It was more so um, growing up, understanding, looking at someone's foot position, and just keeping a bank in your mind of what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had a successful college career, and then you got a phone call. I take it that the Ravens invited you to camp. Tell me about that. That must have been very exciting.
Oh man, yeah. I still say to this day that probably was the best night of my life. Obviously, I played in Division 2, right? So I wasn't a highly recruited kid. I didn't play in the Big Ten, SEC. Um, but I did know the whole time that I could do it. Um, and it was day 3, so how the draft is split up in 3 days. So first round's one day, second and third rounds the second day, and then 4 through 7 is the third day. Um, I didn't go even 4 through 7. I was a undrafted free agent. So basically, how that goes is the teams have a list of people, like they have a board, pretty much, of like who they want to call. Um, and I ended up being called, I think maybe 2 or 3 hours after the 7th round. It was late at night, and they called me and they said, "Would you like to be a Raven?" I almost cried. Like it was a great day, and the reason that actually happened was because of a school that was in my conference um, in D2. It's called the GLIAC Conference. My school is now in the GVC. I think it's a different conference, but at that time we were in the GLIAC, and the biggest schools there are Ferris State and Grand Valley State University. They're both in Michigan, and they're always going to the Natty. They're winning national championships. And I had a guy. His name was Reggie Wins, who was very well connected with GVSU, Grand Valley State, and Ferris State. Um, Northwood, we don't have pro days where I went to school, but Grand Valley and Ferris State do. So my guy um, contacted Grand Valley State and said, "I want you to get this kid in here to get in front of these scouts." So thankfully that happened, and I went there. Um, I was so nervous. I ended up running I think a 4.45 laser 40-yard dash and a 38 vertical. So when you do that, you're pretty much gonna get in, and then also like the Wonderlic test too. So they put you in a classroom, um, and it's basically like you're taking the SAT or the ACT. So
That
yeah.
sounds like an amazing story. And so you get that call, undrafted free agent. Do you actually go and practice with the Ravens? Is
Oh
it the
yeah.
full full team, or is
Yeah.
it just rookies? Or tell us a little bit
No,
about
yeah, yeah,
what was it like,
yeah,
putting on the helmet, the purple jersey of an NFL team and going out there and practicing.
yeah. So when you get the call, it's you're gonna go there in a week. So you get like 3 or 4 days um, to get your plane ticket. You have to basically sign over your name, and image, and likeness, like all that type of stuff. You might get a signing bonus to go, and for that, it's just rookie mini camp, right? So I wasn't there with Joe Flacco and all the big players, but I was there with the year that I went in was when they drafted Marlon Humphrey, the number one cornerback from Alabama, there that year. Um, so when you go in as a UDFA, there's about 90 guys, that are there, um, and there's probably going to be 7 to 10 that make it out, to make it to the 90 day, the 90 man roster, and then that's when you go into OTAs and the real training camp, and from there they whittle it down from 90 to 53. So I was at the rookie mini camp level, and it's crazy, man. Like once you get there, like everyone's good, and a lot of it comes down to like how much money have they invested in someone else. You could be better than the next guy, but if they invested money into someone else, like they're not just gonna let them go and bring you on, So
Yeah. How,
it
how
was
long were you
amazing though.
there at camp? Was it a week, couple weeks? Tell us a little bit about that. And
Yeah.
then, did you, did you get to keep the jersey, or any kind of souvenirs from your experience
No,
there?
you didn't. You don't. Yeah, I was there for a little bit over a week, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
I
yeah, you
imagine
don't
it
really
was
get to keep the
just
jersey.
mind blowing to have that type of experience.
Oh man.
Yeah. Just going through all that.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Especially just it was kind of validating for me because I did go up against their first rounder multiple times and 1v1s and Skelly 7v7, and they're normal guys, So like the biggest thing for me was realizing that, and you know that helped me get through not actually making the roster. I wouldn't say that they're better than me. It's just it's a business and that's how it goes. So
Sure. Well, we appreciate you there and sharing our journey with us, and a lot of valuable information for parents and also players that are looking to take that next step. And again, you don't have to
yeah,
be the D1, shining star. It could happen. So, and it also
yeah, one
sounds
hundred
like you had a
percent.
lot of respect from folks that you played against in college to get that invite to the camp,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
showcase.
That guy was he wasn't necessarily he wasn't a coach, but he did a lot of like out of school type football activities. So like he had his own 7-on-7 team. Like if you really want to become a great football player, you can't just play during the season. You have to put in the extra work, and I know that most of the time that's going to fall on the parents to help your kids do that. And when you're in high school, you don't really know that type of stuff. So it really does fall on the parents to help them do that. And most parents don't even know about it too, which is super tough. But
Yeah, I imagine it's a lot to make that transition, going from, we talked about it, going from Friday to the Saturday, and just learning how it all works. So we do appreciate you sharing your story, and just want to remind everyone out there, we do have our social media channels, so you can find this on our Facebook page, also our YouTube channel, and also our brand new streaming partner, Livestream STL. So we have you covered. as far as finding this podcast and up-to-date information about Seckman. We'll have Coach Bear on the next one. But Theron, we always like to give our guests the chance to take us out with some final thoughts. So I'll go ahead and give you the floor, and just any kind of advice or guidance you could provide, the Jaguar Nation here, be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. This is football wise. My number one piece of advice would be just to be confident in yourself, and your preparation goes into your confidence, right? So as long as you're working and you know that you want to be a football player, you want to be great, just put the work in. Put the work in when no one's watching you, and that will show when you get on the field. That's what I would say.
Great advice and very well said. And we again thank you so much for joining us today. And we will catch everybody on the next one.
Thank you.